easy to take for granted the Mopar show format we all know and love today. A swap meet, drag race, car show, and a burnout contest. You know, the winning formula that is the basis for almost every Mopar show around. Well, all of that was inspired by a show called the Mopar Nationals. The Mopar Nationals began way back in 1981 and is still run today by the original promoter, Jim Belinda, under the name The Nats. With all that being said, the 2025 Nats will be here before you know it, happening on August 8th through the 10th. To give you what to expect from this show that truly started it all, this episode of Mopar TV will highlight some of the cool things we saw there in 2024. This is Robert Wolf reporting from the center of the Mopar world for August 2024. We're back at the Mopar Nationals in Columbus, Ohio. Perfect weather blessed the Mopar Nats for 2024, which prompted what seemed like a bigger crowd than last year to come out for this 3-day swap, race, and show. Like I have talked about in the past, Roadkill Nights, a corporate Dodge-sponsored race and show happening in Detroit this very same weekend, has cut into the show attendance. That remained the same for 2024, giving this show a heavy Ohio demographic. Nonetheless, it was not lacking in significant Mopars hailing from not only all over the country, but all over the world. So Olaf, this is a weird one. Where'd you find this one?
I found this one in Tokyo, Japan.
Well, how'd you end up going over there to find this?
I travel for my work, and I've been going to Japan for about 8 years. And part of the car club there. So a lot of great guys.
Did you know it existed, or you just fell into it?
I didn't know this car existed, but there's a lot of e-bodies over there, a lot of muscle cars in general. But I'm part of the e-body organization, and we go cruising at night, and this used to be in that club.
Okay.
The owner, he's a little bit older gentleman, was having some health issues, so I didn't see the car. And one day it was for sale, and I went to look at it, and lo and behold, there it was.
When did this car get over to Japan?
I shipped it earlier this spring.
No, when did it get over there?
Oh, Japan, 1992.
Okay, so it's been there a while.
It has been there a while. It was an original ordered from Southern California. So in the early 90s, 92, 93, I guess, whenever it arrived in Tokyo. Lived a wonderful life there. And it was a rust-free car going over there, and it's a rust-free car now.
Absolutely cool. So what do they think about American muscle cars in Tokyo?
Love it. They love it. They want more, but you know, the economy is not the best right now, and it hasn't been for a long time. So some of these cars and the older gentlemen that have had them for 20, 30 years, they're letting them go.
So what's the price of gas over there now?
It's not so bad. If you think Southern California pricing, which is horrible when I live in Southern Florida.
Right.
But it's about the same price.
Okay, so it's doable. You can drive them over there. So to register a car like this over there, do you have to pass certain tests, or how does that work?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I know that there's a mountain of paperwork. The bureaucracy over there in the government was pretty intense. Even just to export
just to get it back over here.
Just to export it. So importing it and registering it through their process, they have, from what I understand, they have different rules. If you own a car X amount of years, then you have to do some other process to keep the car, deregister, re-register, something of that nature.
Something crazy.
And when we deregistered the car, the government now steps in and says, I take the license plates, I take the paperwork, and here's your document for export, goodbye.
So over there, within the car community, are there parts available, or how do these guys keep them going?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
There are some parts floating around from cars that maybe were wrecked through the years, and they salvaged it, they reused.
But substantially less than we have.
Very much so. So what I do to my friends in the car club over there, I hand carry stuff from the United States, either from mine or I obtain it from other people, and I hand carry it when I work over there, and I present it to my friends.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a good connection to have.
Definitely. This is a cool piece. It's great you got it back in the country.
If you get somebody that reads Japanese, they're going to see it's Japan, it's Tokyo, but what section of Tokyo where it was registered. That's what those squiggly means.
Okay. So the car was originally purple. Was he a Vanishing Point guy and painted it white, or how did that happen?
The owner that I bought it from loves Vanishing Point.
Okay.
I believe he's the one that converted it to a 4-speed. The original automatic transmission is in the trunk, so I found that. Oh, that's a story in itself, Rob.
Okay.
So that transmission was exchanged maybe 20 years ago. And the transmission and all the parts, console, shifter, linkage, all that stuff, was removed from the car, and the owner didn't take it. Those parts were passed along to other individuals in Japan. And when I bought the car, I said, the original transmission's got to be here, because why would anybody dispose of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went on the hunt with my friends in Japan, did some detective work, and I found
the original transmission.
Now, finding it was very difficult.
What about buying it?
Trying to buy it because it's being purposed for something.
Mm-hmm.
But I convinced the gentleman that had it that if I gave him this amount of money, and he agreed, and I got it. Because I think it belongs to the car, not just some random car.
Absolutely, but maybe you have to bring him another transmission.
You got enough money to keep buying all states and ship home. But I think it belongs to this
Yes,
car.
no question.
National Trails Raceway, the longtime home of the Nats, has a storied history of drag racing and never fails to attract legendary racers and their race cars.
All right, this one belongs to Robert right here. How did you get this car?
I bought it from Ken Purvis. He was in Florida. He was the second owner of the car. He bought it from Jim Thompson, I believe, in 1982.
Was it painted like that, or was it running different colors?
No, it was totally different. Ken originally painted it light blue.
Okay.
Then later painted it solid red. And when I got it, it was solid red.
You knew what it was when you got it?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
And I wanted to restore it back to its original condition, and so that's.
And speaking of that, you're up here for a special reason because you had the same guy that lettered it in the past lettered it now for you.
Sir.
So that's as good as it gets.
In 1974, and lettered it again in 2024.
And
50 years later.
And who is that?
Jim Dauber Farr.
And he's here in Ohio.
In Cincinnati.
Yep. And you just happened to have it lettered and the Mopar Nationals going on, so you just came on over?
Yeah, and so Jim, I'd asked him to autograph it, and he said, hey, the Mopar Nationals are going on, why don't we just do it at the track? And
That's awesome.
Sure,
That's awesome. So thanks for bringing it out.
There was this is the normal wheelbase, and then you had a longer wheelbase, right?
I don't think it was.
No.
The other one was the Hardy car.
The black car was the Hardy.
Right. It was black.
It was black.
We bought that. I can't remember who we bought it from, but Hardy did the chassis. And it was a couple $100 lighter.
Now, this car never ran the Westlake motor. That was just the wagon.
Yeah, he never had the Westlake.
Never had the Westlake engine. Okay. And are you helping with the restoration on this one, or?
We're going to build the engine for it.
You're gonna build the engine for it.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
right now we're going to do the engine.
We've sent him pictures and
What are you putting back in, a W2?
455 Hemi.
Okay.
And he's planning on building a, like you said, a W2 of some sort.
This is something.
We're not involved in that one yet.
Okay.
That's cool. He's from Texas. Okay. Are you sure you're still based out in Columbus here,
Yeah,
right?
Sunbury.
Okay, Sunbury.
Join your communications.
I got 4 to 8 pages of text from him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, see, this has been going on for
A year.
And where did the car wind up? How did he find it?
Well, we sold the car to Purvis. He wrecked it 2 or 3 times and took the Hemi out. And Hickernell Williams building a small block that he ran, and he moved to Florida. He called me one day wanting to sell the car.
Okay.
I said, I'm not the authority. Let me give you 2 names, Kramer and Jeff Johnson.
Yep.
Kramer flew down and looked at the car. I don't know what happened from there, and I gave Purvis half a dozen big photos of it. He promised to get it back, and I never got back. You know. And then he bought it. This guy bought it from Purvis.
Okay.
And all the Hemi and the headers and everything disappeared.
Yes, I was just wondering how complete the car was. So it basically was just a rolling chassis.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Those guys introduced themselves yesterday to me. They did. They did.
Well, he was asking me a question, how complete was the car when you bought it?
Yeah, what did it look like?
Well, it was you know, had different tires and wheels, of course, on it. Had this ugly hood scoop on it. The Valance. Talked to Ken. He said he hit a pothole on the return road and busted it all off. So it was busted.
Well, he wrecked it a couple of times.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about a wreck here in a minute. All the windshield side glass was ugly plexiglass. Well, you can see in the pictures when Jim raced it, it was glass. So we've put glass back in it, put glass windshield in it. So we're trying to get this car as close as we can back to when he raced it. But it was far from that when we got it.
Now, how altered was the wheel? Has anything changed on the car?
No.
I know over the years, because of the Carlton accident, they had played with moving the wheelbases around on the car.
Well, I explained to him the first time we raced it, Ripple drove it.
Yeah.
Because of the inconsistency of the cars, we were concerned about the handling.
Yep.
And he made 2, maybe 3 passes, you know, hard throttle before we was willing to turn it loose. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool little car.
But yet it still has the original magnesium Dana housing, which are really rare. So I was lucky to get the car with that original housing in it, original wheelie bars. But then I tried to get the original tires and wheels. And you'll notice that these Craigers, these Super Trick wheels, early Craigers had a single bolt pattern. And the later ones had multiples.
Yep.
So it was hard to locate, but I was able to locate the wheels. And when I noticed on the front wheels, I never could find a valve stem. And so I thought, what's the deal? Well, these cars, you can tell the tire is real close to the fender.
Yeah.
Well, what these guys did, they could pick up another ½ inch if they put the wheel on backwards. So we replicated that as well.
And I see you got an old set of the Firestone drag five on the back too.
That's right.
This is cool.
Strictly-
It's a period drag.
Strictly for display. They will never be run.
All right, here with Hemi Eddie and Myron.
Survey.
Incredible car. This thing's been not seen for a while. It's the prototype super stock Barracuda, as best we know it. Everything on it is just like it was done back in the day, correct?
Correct. It is. True.
So Eddie's got the car now, getting it ready for McCacken. So you've been through it. What have you seen in this thing that's different?
Wow. I mean, first of all, for it being a prototype car, and for it being the first of the first, and raced in Pennsylvania under Supercuda back in the mid-70s and all that, for the car to be in the condition it's in, or even to exist at all, is amazing. I mean, I don't know if you can see, I got goosebumps talking about it.
Has it ever been cut, or was it never cut or anything?
Never cut, never cut.
Never.
There's mini tubs in it, and that's about it. I mean, the car has retained so much of the way it was built from the factory. And I mean, as we were going through it, front to back, cleaning underneath it and getting it all ready to go to the Mopars at the barns a couple weeks ago, and then to get invited and bring it here, it's just unbelievable. I mean, an incredible car to even exist in any condition.
Now, even before you got it, when they put this thing together, they did it right. As you were saying yesterday, they painted it all back original and then restrapped over the top of it.
Pat Magruder had a big muscle car collection in Arizona, and he was a perfectionist. I mean, to the point where when they got it back, he had to buy it back from Arlen Banking. And Arlen had restored it to the way he got it, which had a different paint job on it. It had white on the side.
Right.
Pat Magruder really stripped all that off, and he literally repainted the car as it came out of the factory. Put the original red paint on it.
Right.
Then he went and put this paint job on it.
Right. It's the only way to do it. That's the way it was.
So he had the correct layers of paint and everything. And so So he restored it the exact way that Chrysler developed this car.
So then you found the car about what year?
1971. I'm sorry, 91.
91.
And I found it, believe it or not, through a Google search.
That's crazy.
I was searching my last name, and up came a website called Factory Muscle. I said, what the heck is my name doing on Factory Muscle? So I clicked on it, and they had an inventory of all the cars he had in his collection. And there was one car that said Survey Motor Sales. My dad.
Now your dad owned Survey Motor
My
Sales.
dad owned Survey. My dad raced in the 60s and early 70s.
And Survey was out of Detroit, right?
Yeah, out of Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Michigan, okay.
Out of Detroit, outside of Detroit.
Right.
And I said, what's going on here? So I called up Magruder's office and didn't hear from him for about a week or so. And then all of a sudden I get a call from a Steve Banker. And he said, I'm the curator of Pat Magruder's collection. He said, oh my God, are we happy to hear from you? Because we just got this car out in California, and the people said it came from Wixom, Michigan. So it sort of, looked like it was one of my dad's cars. And he said, we don't have any history on it. Can you find something? Well, one of my sisters had a little brownie snapshot of a brown car called the Mad Moose. And we blew up the picture, sent it out to Steve, and he called back a week later and said, well, I'm sorry to inform you, it's not your dad's car. He went through all the layers of paint, and it didn't match up. But I sort of struck up a relationship with Steve. He knew I liked Barracudas, and he helped me when I was searching for another Barracuda. And then, maybe a month or two later, he calls me back and said, well, good news and bad news. Pat Magruder was going to put a muscle car museum together along with the Smithsonian in Scottsdale. Had it all approved, had all these cars ready to go in, and there was an election, and they took away his approval. So he said to Steve, we're getting out of it, sell everything. So Steve called me up and said, well, if you want to see these cars before they go, come on out. So I flew out there and looked at all the cars, and there was this car sitting off in a corner, and he knew I liked Barracudas. He said, oh, you should have that one.
So when you saw it, do you know how special it was?
At the time, I didn't know.
Okay.
But as I talked to Steve, I found out, and he said, you should have that one. I said, I can't afford that. And so I went back home and talked to my banker.
Yeah, you could afford it.
Yeah, I said, you guys loan on a classic car. Oh, we'll help you out. But this is all we can do for you.
Yeah.
So it was about half of what they were asking for the car. So I called Steve back and said, I'm sorry, I don't want to insult you, but this is the best I can do on the car. My banker said they'd finance it for me. And about 2 weeks later, he calls me back and says, when do you want to come pick up your car? Apparently Pat Magruder was such a perfectionist that he wanted to see the cars in his collection go back to where they started.
It's awesome.
I mean, he had Fable's car, he had Royal Pontiac out of Michigan, and some Thunderbolts and all that. So he wanted this car to go back to Michigan, where it started.
That's cool. That's cool.
And that's how I got it.
So all the R&D work on this was done out in California by Turk, correct? Back in the day.
Yeah,
Urbandale. Now there's a lot of unique things to the car that I've seen, but you've been through it. Right off the bat, one post on the hood scoop is unique. Most of them have to, right?
And I've got pictures of that.
Yeah, that was once again, being a prototype vehicle, they were seeing what it took, what needed to be done.
Right.
In the pictures, the old pictures we have over here, there's 2 posts on it.
Okay.
But then you go through some of the magazine articles, and then it goes back into the 1 post.
So it started with 1 and went to 2, you think, or it just went back and forth?
It probably went back and forth.
Maybe have 2 hoods for it. You never know. Yeah.
The very first one is this.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Now inside we have Porsche seats in there.
Absolutely.
So not the A100s that most people people are used to.
Not the A100s, but if you look at these little cardboard boards down here,
They're over the
and you look
lightweight
behind
brackets.
it, they're over the lightweight
Yeah,
brackets.
so they had those done.
Yeah, and then if you look, there's
like
there's
old-
3 pedals in the car,
Okay.
and an automatic dual gauge shifter in there. So the car started life as a 4-speed, and then they put an automatic in it.
So is that an Oldsmobile shifter there?
Yeah, it was the Oldsmobile shifter, the GM shifter that was commonly used,
Right.
and then that was the one that went in all the the factory BO and
Right.
Hello 23 cars that they built. That was the automatic shifter.
Cool.
And no dash pads, so they just put some silver tape over top the holes in the dash, and I mean it was basically bare bones, but yet it still had the Highline door panels in it, unlike the cars with the lower line ones.
Right.
I mean it retains some of that car's originality, but different from what it ultimately was whenever they made the 60s.
Did it have lightweight glass in it like all the rest of them
Oh
did?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's probably the most amazing thing because it's got the Corning glass on all 4 of the side pieces. The front and the back windshield are stock.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, they started with the straps in the windows.
They pulled the car out of a pool. Just a car sitting there in the pool. It was a 67 Formula S.
Right.
And 4-speed, as you see. And I don't know, one of the executives said, "Oh, you'll never make it work." And they brought it back to Woodward Garage and started experimenting on the car.
Right.
This is how it evolved.
The wheels, what are those off of, do you think?
We're not quite sure because there's such a reverse offset
Yeah,
on it
I know.
because of the B-body Dana that they ended up putting in the car. They're just a unique wheel. I'm not sure. They were probably handmade for this car, I would imagine.
And those are the original ones that were on it?
I believe so.
Yes. Yeah, the little pictures look like they
Because
are.
I don't know how you duplicate them other
Right.
than cutting a wheel apart and making it.
And under the hood, anything different from the other ones? Or?
Yes, there is. When Hearst was building both the Hemi Darts and the Hemi Barracudas, one of their production things was to take a sledgehammer and beat this shock tower back in.
Okay.
It's for the clearance of the
Right.
valve cover. When you look behind and all that, this one was carefully cut out. They moved it in and they welded it back in. I'm sure someone said, "Look, that takes way too much time. Sledgehammer's 5 minutes. That's about 2 hours. Get rid of that. Get rid of those hours of engineering on the car."
Yeah.
Then they had to move the master cylinder over 3/4 of an inch
Right.
to clear the motor.
Right.
And that's one of the ways that Bob Ferozzi confirmed this was the original car.
The way they moved it over.
They took it off, and he saw his scribe marks on the
Okay.
firewall.
Okay, cool.
And probably one of the other really wild things on the car is the alternator pulley.
Okay.
I've never seen one that big.
A dual one?
It's a dual one. I've never seen one that big. It's probably an inch bigger than the ones they actually put on the race Hemi cars. And I'm sure they put that one on there because Myron was telling me, he goes, "I never was able to keep the battery charged in this thing." And I said, "Well, that pulley would never let you charge the battery unless you were at 7,000 RPM. So I'm sure they put that on there just to have an alternator, but
They
no
weren't
drag
worried
on the
about it.
motor.
Yeah. Well, it's a great piece. Thank you for bringing it back to perfect for us.
It's time to get it exposed again.
Yep. So we're going to see it at McCacken next.
Yes.
Beautiful. We'll be there to see it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I have some of your time?
Yes. Just give me 1 second. I found Jerry Springer at the show, not the one that everybody knows, but probably one that has something a little more significant than Jerry Springer had. A 70 Roadrunner Hemi convertible. Jerry, you're from Canada?
No, I am not.
The car's from Canada.
No, it is not.
All right. So tell me a little bit about this.
My friend Dan Roof bought the car new
Okay.
in 70, and later on, about late 73, he sold it to my friend Gary. I introduced the original owner to the second owner.
So where was the car bought new?
Right here.
So this is the... This
Unverfirth. Well, I don't know if it's. Oh yeah. Unverfirth Motor Sales.
and where was that?
Kalida, Ohio.
Ohio. And it was a B5 blue car, it appears.
All of them were,
Okay.
except the purple one in Canada.
Right. And a white interior. And how long did you have the car?
Only about 7 months.
7 months, yeah.
Yep.
So what happened to it after you had it?
So my friend drove it to Camp Lejeune Marine Base. It burned a piston.
Okay.
Some shop down there said they were going to fix the car.
Right.
They stripped the car.
Oh.
They stole the hood, the dash, the engine, transmission, differential. I bought that one and only Hemi Roadrunner 4-speed car. I paid $100 for it. I put a 440 in it, an automatic, and an 8 3/4, and started to drive it as a work car.
Right.
One night it backfired, caught the air cleaner on fire, and the car burned. So by April of '75, the car went to a crusher.
Oh, that's a shame.
I was living at my mom and dad's house.
Yeah.
There's no way a burnt car was staying at mom and dad's house. So
I've been there before.
I just wanted to set the record straight.
Yeah.
Somebody said that car was in Canada.
Right. Never went to Canada.
lying.
Never went.
The car was stripped out somewhere around the Marine base, Camp Lejeune.
Okay, here we are at the tower, and I've got Butch Leal standing beside me. The California flag. He did a lot of racing. Has done a lot of racing. Raced with the ride shop for a while.
That's correct.
And tell us, Butch, how did you get started in racing? You were in California when you did it, and that's where racing started.
Well, I was fortunate in 1960. I was 16, and I bought a 60 El Camino with 348, 350 horse, 3.2 for 4-speed. It was awful fast for muscle car back then, and went to a race and won the race, and I was totally hooked. At Bakersfield for most of the drag strip there. It was great. They had the March meet, so it was pretty wonderful. And then I got started, and one thing after another. I got a 409. Then I got Chevy got to give me a C11, and they pulled the plug. And if you remember racing in '63,
Yeah.
so 2 months later, I had a lightweight Ford. So I was lucky to drive for Ford, Chrysler, and Chevrolet.
How'd you get into Chrysler? Who got you into that?
I won Indy with a Thunderbolt. Some people can remember a Thunderbolt. I won Indy. And that year, it's a long story, but that year Mickey Thompson had a Indy car, Indy 500 car. It was a tub. Well, David McDonald hit the wall and killed him and 2 other drivers, and Ford immediately fired him. And so I was pretty much out of a job, and Mickey said, take the car. And so I came back east and raced all summer. After Indy, I was at Indy and won, and I asked Charlie Gray, the head of drag racing, how's my budget look? He says, we don't have one for you. My heart fell to my stomach, and I was a father for the first time.
Oh,
and
boy.
I was an idiot, and my wife's in California. She said, I need to get back quick. And fellow tapped me on the shoulder, introduced himself, and I stepped out, and he said, I'm Bob Cahill. He said, I am the head of Chrysler drag racing. I said, I'll be right with you.
Boy, that was
Well, if you know, back in the day, the Chrysler drivers were all automatic drivers, and they wanted some 4-speed drivers, and so they hired Ronnie and Buddy, Stockton Martin, and myself, 4-speed driver. Let's see, they had 6 Plymouth. They made those all their wheelbase cars. 6 Plymouth, 6 Dodges. They kept one of the Plymouths for Mule car, but we had a couple of Lee Smith back in the day up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He had a 4-speed car. The rest of them were automatics. The Ram Chargers was automatic, and Golden Commandos, but we had a ball, and I stayed with them quite a while. And after that year, I went to a funny car and run 100% nitro. Was probably one of the best times I had, and injected. It's one of the first cars to go into 7s back then.
Well, I didn't know any of that. I remember you in the modified cars and the pro stock cars.
And we, I couldn't make any money. Funny car, I just wasn't spending any, but I wasn't making any. So I went back to door slammer. They called me a door slammer. So I went back to work for Mickey Thompson, and he wanted me to do the Boss 429 project. So I did that, and in '65 when I quit Chrysler, they owed me quite a bit of money, but I told them to keep it because they were so far over budget, and I said I may be back someday. So I sat down with Mr. Cale again in Ontario. I said I want to build a Duster, pro stock car. He said, well, we prefer you build a Barracuda. We think they're better. And I said, what reason? He said, well, the Barracuda roof line's 2 inches lower than the Duster. I said, the Duster's 6 inches narrower, and by the way, my roof line won't be higher than the Barracuda.
All right, Seth.
Say hi.
15 years old?
Yes.
Driver's permit?
Yes.
Big rock?
Put your umbrella down. Talk to the man.
You did the car yourself, or what's the story on it?
I did myself with some help.
So why a Mopar? For someone your age, what's inspiring you about these old cars?
I had some family. My family likes Mopars.
So you get it honestly?
Yeah.
Don't be camera shy.
Tell me about the car. Where'd you get it? How bad shape was it?
Here 2 years ago. There's some rust on the rockers and the quarters.
It looks like you went through it and did a whole paint job and everything on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you did it yourself, or you had someone else do it for you?
Someone else did the paint for us.
Okay.
We knew the guy though.
Okay. And under the hood, what have you got done to it?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
400 block. We put cam and new pistons.
Still a 400 or is it stroked?
Still 400.
Yeah.
We cleaned the cylinders out, so it made 6 more cubic inches.
Right. Cool. Well, it's a great car. We love it. You choose the wheels for it?
I did, yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
All right, Dean, this is an interesting van that we ran down. We saw, I think Tim saw you last night and said we had to shoot this thing. So tell me a little bit about this A100. It's definitely different.
Well, so the A100, I always loved them. I was a big Little Red Wagon fan, you know, the whole body style thing, and I loved vans as a kid. A friend of ours had a four-wheel drive Dodge Quickly van back in the 80s, and I just loved vans. And my son, who is now 24, was born with cerebral palsy. So he's a motorhead like I am, like my dad is. I have a 71 Super B. I've got a Hellcat now. My dad has, you know, 71 our Charger RT. He loves being in the cars and going for rides.
Mm-hmm. All right, so introduce this young man to us.
So this is my 24-year-old son, Logan Edmonds. He's quite the motorhead. The whole family is. But, yeah, he was born in 2000 with cerebral palsy, and been through a lot.
Well, you got an awesome ride here. I mean, this is incredible.
It's fun to get him out and do this kind of stuff.
Yep.
He enjoys getting the attention, the thumbs up, and going under bridges and making lots of noise.
Yeah,
doing burnouts. You doing burnout last night?
That's awesome. Definitely got a cool ride, man.
I'll show him how you go up in there. Okay, this is his favorite thing. He always wants to show it off. So when I turn this switch on here, it activates these straps to where I can pull them out. They don't pull him up in, but they follow him in, so I don't have to tie him down.
Right.
And then there's an easy lock inside there, regular, all rated for transport wheelchair tie-down hardware that his chair actually locks into. Locked in, and then I come around the back with the other tie downs and I hook those in here. And then for additional safety, I have a lap belt that comes up, hands up, you know.
Oh, that belt.
And then usually, I don't carry it now, but I have his shoulder harness.
You right?
I just didn't put it in for today, but yeah. And then the last thing I want to do is, I do have a shoulder strap assembly I want to put in, but I just haven't figured out a clean way to mount it yet without ruining the paint. So I'm like, I need something I can put him in with his chair, tie him down and go, and be cool to where we can get into the fairgrounds, get into the shows, go to the drag races. And so that's when I was flipping through a magazine and I'm looking at, I think it was Power Tour coverage, and I saw a white 67 A100, and it had 340 strobe straight decals down the side. The guy's out of Michigan, and I'm like, that's what I need to build right there. I didn't want to do like a panel wagon with no windows or anything. So I hunted and hunted. I found one out of Ohio, or out of Iowa, bought it, brought it back. It was way too rusty, but it gave me the ability to measure it, so I knew that dimensionally, with some modifications, I could make it work. So when I did that, I sold that van because of the rust issues, and I continued to look. And my dad and I had done many restorations, customers' cars, our own vehicles. He worked at Erie GE Locomotive, where I work now, and so we had the ability, we had the talent, we just didn't have the time to restore a full van. So I found this on eBay a few years later, 2016, and it had just been restored by a gentleman, Doug Bolt, down in Florida, and he did it basically just to resell, put about 300 miles on it, and I found it, and it took me a little bit of time and energy to think about it, but I decided to pull the trigger and buy it. We drove it for a few months at the end of the season, August, September, October, and then that fall, November, I took the gas tank out of it, put a brace between the unibody frame rails, and then sawzalled the center of the floor out, and then started coming up with the design for the cage, essentially, that whole rear floor pan hangs in.
Was that a piece that you bought ready to go, or you fabbed all that stuff?
Every inch of it. I went to local sheet metal shop and metal supply, Gene Davis, back in Erie, and I bought sticks of 1x2 090 wall rectangle tubing, and cut and mitered every piece, and had to make sure I had room for the differential, had to have room to make sure I could hang a gas tank in there.
So where did the gas tank go? Not in its regular configuration, so then it's off to the side?
In the regular configuration, it would have been up in the cavern under the floor.
Right in the way.
You don't see it when you're behind the van, because there's enough room behind the license plate for the lands, but I took that space with the lowering of the floor. So what I did was, I didn't want to put a side saddle. I wanted to use a stock filler neck. So I was able to use a stock filler neck location, just cut and weld and modify, and it runs down to a tank that I designed basically out of Celotex insulation house, 3/4 inch thick, and duct tape, and figured out where I needed, because it's got an electric fuel pump in it. So I figured out where I needed the pump to be, the filler neck to be, the sending unit, the return lines, everything for it. All the mounting tabs, everything. I made it completely out of a lightweight styrofoam and duct tape, and I pulled it out and I gave it to CAG Engineering back in town, and they duplicated it completely out of aluminum.
Cool.
They put baffles inside, so we never lost fuel as far as slosh and all that, and it bolted in. I painted it, prepped it, put it in the first time, and I've never had it back out. It worked perfect. It cleared. It cleared the rear valance, it clears the differential, it has weight distribution, or not weight distribution, but a spring assist to help open and close the ramp, and I had to make sure it was narrow enough to fit between that, so it had to clear and live in every area under the van. And like I said, I put it in, and it was in once. It's never been back out. Everything worked perfect.
That's awesome.
A lot of time and staring and measuring to get that right.
What about an engine? What are you running for a power plant?
So it has it was a service replacement engine right out of a Dodge dealer back in like 2009, when all the Dodge dealers were closing. Doug Bolt had bought the entire parts department out, and there was a service block that had no intake, no pan, no water pump on it, and he bought it, and it was just it's a 5.2 Magnum motor, like 95 to 2000-ish vintage right in there. So it's got the hydraulic roller cam and all that.
It's just a nice small block in
right,
there, yeah.
Exactly. And it runs super cool with Magnum heads and all that. It runs great, and never 180 degrees. And
never have a problem.
A lot of guys struggle with heat in these.
What are you running for a radiator in it?
Just a stock replacement.
Nothing special?
Radiator.
Yeah.
It isn't. I don't know. Honestly, there's no stamping on it or anything.
Yeah.
But he said it was a new radiator, so whatever brand it is, I'm not sure. No electric fans or anything.
Yeah.
But it's got a Edelbrock carb, Edelbrock intake, E-body headers that feed into the side pipes. It has a 518 overdrive tranny with a little shift kit in it that's out of the same vintage fan. So it's the longer tail shaft. So the drive shaft, U-joint to U-joint, is about 8 inches long. So it's just a tiny little drive shaft in there. It has the still has a stock 323 8 3/4 rear end in it. Stock rear brakes, 10-inch drums. When I bought it, it had 10-inch or 11-inch drums in the front. and I replaced those with a disc brake kit. A guy on Facebook, Matt Firestone, who was selling a kit at the time. So I put that kit on there, so it stops much better and they don't get hot. The drums would just get hot in day-to-day traffic, you know. And then after a year driving it again, no power steering and, you know, trying to maneuver the thing around and that. So somebody else on Facebook, James Oles, he did a Prius conversion steering kit on his, and he was more than helpful. He sent me every picture, every part I needed to buy, everything. What's that?
Let's talk about the steering a little bit. So all right, you told us that you use Prius steering on here, and you got the idea from who?
So I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right. He's on Facebook, and somebody I met on there on the A100 page, James Oles.
Okay.
He works for Chrysler, actually. He's a Chrysler engineer, and he had a van like this, and he came up with this. Well, I'm sure not the first person, but he used the Prius steering.
So what this is a Prius motor right here, correct?
Right, and there's a control box that I have mounted up underneath the dash. And I don't know
if we can see that. Yeah.
But so basically, just put hot power to that.
So there's no box underneath. It's a standard box underneath the truck, and this just turns the shaft from here down.
Right. So as it senses input in this, so when you turn the ignition right now, if I get the key in here, it takes a lot of effort to try to turn the steer. Well, you turn the key on, and they give it 5-8 seconds or so.
Right.
And all of a sudden you can steer.
Awesome. So you had to make the bottom bracket to put that on, but you also made this tube in the front here to run the wiring for the horn down, you said?
Right. So here again, James gave me the idea, because once you cut the column in half and you don't have a tube that goes from top to bottom, in order to get your horn and your turn signal wiring down through here, we used the hole that would have been your 3-speed three on the tree shifter in this notch here, and this is just a piece of white PVC tubing that I prepped and painted, and then the wiring comes out of here and it follows up through the factory place in the dash, because there would have been an access hole here to go up into underneath the dash anyway, but I just had to abbreviate it.
And there's an Allen key right here to separate the shaft.
Right, so it has a flap in the shaft there that if I want to drop the steering box out of it, or pull the top of the column part, that's the first thing I do. Is it has a lock nut and an Allen key, or a set screw that takes that off, and then I can start disassemble and everything. But there's a plate here that's welded to this. Would have just been a tube that was basically just a cover up for the shaft, but the way it's bolted onto the floor and the strength of it, and then that plate that keeps that motor from wanting to go the opposite direction, because as it senses force, it wants to go, it wants to turn.
Right.
So that is enough to just keep that held solid. And then this is all stock here. And then what's nice too is these seats, they're aftermarket seats, are out of like a Toyota van or something. They're a little higher than stock. I've lowered them the best that I could, but I was able to actually lengthen this a little bit and bring it up closer to me to where it's a better driving position. And if I want to, because this is a collapsible unit, I could drop this down about another 1 3/4, 2 inches if I ever want to. Because it's a slip joint, so I could actually, there's a little bit of adjustment.
Well, you got to get to work and make it telescoping.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's an awesome van. I mean, your son's got to be proud of his dad building all that for him. That's incredible for you to do that. So thanks for showing it to us and giving us the opportunity to tell your story.
No problem. Thank you very much for looking at it.
Where's this one from?
Oneida, Wisconsin.
Okay.
He was a North American Indian. When him and his buddies got out of Vietnam, they ordered new cars in the fall of '69. He ordered this one. His buddy ordered an LS6 Chevelle, and his other buddy ordered a 428 Mach 1 Cobra Jet. And this one was King Supreme, and they raced on a reservation a lot.
Really?
In the Oneida tribe, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was nicknamed the White Buffalo.
Great color combination.
Very, very unique.
How much you asking for it?
118.
One of the highlights of the Nats is always the Burnout contest, which never fails to attract a vast array of vehicles willing to do some serious tire shredding. Always, if you like this episode, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more like this one, make sure you slam the subscribe to Mopar TV button. It's absolutely free. To see more in-depth features on the Mopars from this show, make sure you have a subscription to the only Mopar magazine that matters, Mopar Collector's Guide.
That's what I'm talking about. That's how it's done. Now, listen, we should be a little concerned because he landed the worst way he possibly could land. So, let's see what's up.
As a grand finale for 2024, the General Lee caught some serious air and narrowly avoided taking out the track's timing equipment.
How's your neck feel, Ray?
Green flag, Thunder, green flag.
This has been Robert Wolf reporting from the center of the Mopar world, and until next month, I'll see you on the pages of MCG.